guys, it's me, Blue, with Anthony's Animation Talk. As you are all
Hello.
probably, well, there he is. Hello. As you guys are all probably well aware, Anthony currently doesn't have a channel. He just found out that 13 of these strikes were removed out of, what was it,
36?
36? 36. So, progress. But anyways, I figured you guys would all want to hear us talk about the brand new Space Jam movie. And I figured we may as well throw in the first one because it's fresh in my mind. I just saw the 4K restoration of it. So, yeah, this is going to be a little bit of an unscripted video about the two Space Jam movies. And I do want to get some notes out there first. The first note is that despite what I'm about to say about the second Space Jam, you guys can like whatever you guys want. And, differing opinions is a good thing. I don't want you to think that just because you like something that I don't, it means that we can't be friends or whatever. Anthony doesn't like Shrek. I really do like the first two Shrek movies. I like Happy Gilmore.
I kid.
I like the Happy Gilmore a lot. It's stupid, but I find it funny. So there you go. I guess the first thing that we should talk about maybe is how we first saw the first. Well, we'll start with the first Space Jam. When was the first time you saw Space Jam? Because for me, I wasn't even alive in 1996. I had the VHS of it, and I watched it a lot as a kid.
You might have to explain to people what VHSs were, because we're getting to the point where I was asked a few times, "Oh, what's a VHS?"
You can't. No,
well,
wait, no.
First of all, I'm not Google. You can just type in VHS in Google and you'll get your answer straight away. But no, we are getting to that point. We're also getting to the point where people are confused about what you mean when you say burn CDs. So
yeah, well, that seems more like that. That seems a lot more common, or like more reasonable, I should say, than saying what a VHS is, because Retrotech is in.
Well, I mean, my kids were when I saw a tape for the first time, they were going, "Oh, what's that?" And I thought, "Oh no, it begins." But no, which is fair enough.
When was the last time you burnt a CD?
It was in 1992. See, I had to throw in a Simpsons reference there. Sorry. I honestly don't know. I would. Maybe the mid 2000s. I think. I remember being excited. Changing the radio in my car at the time, which only had a tape player to a CD player, and and I thought that was just the bomb. That hey. Look at me with my CD player. Yeah. All right.
You want to know the last time I burnt a CD was?
Never.
Last Saturday.
Wow.
My friend's car doesn't have any it's a fairly old car now. It doesn't have a whole lot of options for music, right? It's got a radio, it's got a CD drive. You could hook a phone up through an aux cord, but that's the whole thing. So I burn them CDs for the car trips, and every couple weeks I'll make a new one. So
well, fair enough. Fair enough. But
anyways,
but now we have Space Jam in 4K UHD, which I'm sure we'll get into soon. But you were saying about the first time you seen it, you weren't alive and you had it on VHS. If you want, I can go into when I first saw it, because I was indeed alive at the time. Okay, just picture this. I was perhaps the perfect age for Space Jam. In 1996, I was 11 years old. Now, or perhaps turned 11. Now, I'm not sure. I don't recall when Space Jam came out in Australia, because back then, unlike today, where you could have simultaneous theater showings, back then it was usually shown in the US for a while, and then once the theater run's done, they send over the film to where we are, and then we finally have ours showing. So I couldn't tell you when it premiered here, but I was the right age, and seeing the Looney Tunes on the big screen like that just blew my mind. I'm sure it bored my dad, who took me, but you know, he actually likes old cartoons. He loves Looney Tunes, but it didn't quite work for him, which is, I'm sure, a theme we'll get into when we get into discuss Space Jam 2. But you know, I loved it for what it is, and I wasn't even that big a basketball fan, but I knew who Michael Jordan was. Practically everyone did, and I remember watching it and just loving seeing these characters on the big screen. I don't remember if they showed a short in the beginning. I think there was one short that they did in the US, but that was my experience, and it was an amazing thing. You know, right age, and it just blew my mind. What about yourself, Blue? Like, you said you saw it on VHS, yeah?
Yeah, so I clearly can't remember the first time I watched it, but just to understand everybody, when my mom found out that there was going to be another Space Jam, she told me over and over again that she was not going to watch it with me. She had seen the first one so many times because of me that the idea of another one horrifies her.
Sounds like me with Frozen.
That's how many times that I apparently watched it, because apparently I watched it every day. And, you know, that to me is partially why I can't hate the film. Like, I guess it's pretty safe to say that it is such a 90s concept for a movie to take a commercial, because that's what Space Jam started out off as. It was a bunch of Michael Jordan commercials with the Looney Tunes characters for merchandise. I believe the shoes or something. I don't know.
And Bill Murray was involved as well.
But they stretched it into a 90-minute commercial. Pretty much. It might be longer than that, actually. And that is something that you think they wouldn't be able to make a movie about today. But here we are. We're talking about the second one, and it's one of those things where I see more positives than I do negatives with the film. It's not perfect, not even close. Especially if you're watching like a new restoration of the film, because there are things you would notice today in a perfect looking 4K copy of the film compared to, you know, a 240p screen on a 4:3 screen back in 1998, right? I don't know, there's a couple viral images going on right now, because of course there is, everybody's talking about Space Jam, of the crowd shots in the original, and you've seen some of those, right?
I have indeed, yes. They're showing, this character's in there. I wonder if anyone's found Buddy yet. They probably have. I haven't really paid too much attention.
Oh, I haven't seen Buddy, but Bosco appears early on. Yeah, he appears in like the theater where they're talking about what they're gonna, like, how they're gonna get out of dealing with these aliens. And that's another thing, is that, you know, there's that entire story about how Chuck Jones basically got kicked out of like a Warner Brothers party for saying that the concept for Space Jam was just stupid.
And it is. He's not wrong.
Oh yeah, he's not wrong. No, it's something that was just so 90s. Like, I can't think of too many other things that are more 90s than Space Jam at all. Like, but
yeah, it's a very 90s concept. You know, this is the time where, you know, rap and hip hop was really getting big as well. You know, the quote unquote black culture, you know, it was huge. It was also getting popular down here as well. And so even the Looney Tunes before Space Jam, and even outside of the commercials, you'd have them dress up as rappers and a lot of the merchandise of the time. It really is a true product of the time. But look, I enjoyed it for what it is. Watching it now as an adult, yeah, it's flawed as heck. And Chuck Jones was right. You know, Bugs Bunny would have easily thought of those those little alien guys, and that's all, folks. That kind of thing. And but you wouldn't have much of a movie now, would you? But
No.
That's
And I think that's important, is that this is actually the first real theatrical Looney Tunes anything that wasn't, a package film or a documentary with like 30 minutes, like most of the film being the original cartoons. Like, I will stand on my grave and say that the best Looney Tunes movie ever made is Bugs Bunny Superstar, which was the first one. But to talk about space,
I prefer the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie, the Looney Bugs Bunny movie, and those ones. I thought they worked really well, in how
they're good too,
it.
definitely.
Yeah.
But I saw those a lot as a kid. I had the Looney Bugs Bunny movie on VHS as well. But just to give my last thought, my thoughts on the first movie, I think first of all, the strongest thing about that film is its soundtrack. That film has a wonderful soundtrack, and it still is something that I listen to on the regular basis, because it covers like all moods, like the entire soundtrack is just so varied with like 90s 90s-ness.
90s, exactly. And I will say this. I don't particularly like rap and hip hop that much. I mean, it's never a deal breaker, mind you. It's just not something I listen to personally. But I tell you, it's done so well in Space Jam. It just works. And, especially when, after we see the initial, I Believe I Can Fly and that, and once we start getting into the compilation of Jordan, winning and all that, we see the titles, they get you so pumped up and ready to, enjoy this film. And I find that even people who dislike Space Jam, they all seem to acknowledge that, the soundtrack is like one of the best parts, if not the best part for them.
Right. Now, this may be a little bit of a weird question, but is there any jokes from the film that stand out as highlights to you, like actual comedic bits?
Well, Bill Murray is Bill Murray. Like, I mean, I love Bill Murray in just about anything except for Wes Anderson films. I always think his talent is wasted. But this is not going to be a I hate Wes Anderson rant here. No. But anyway, Bill Murray, when he's left to be Bill Murray, he's great to watch, and he's definitely a highlight there. And when he finally gets to play on the team, that's a great moment. Also, I just get a kick out of Daffy kissing his own butt with the 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 rings, the Looney Tunes rings. The voice acting's great, I think, and there is a lot to like about it. It's just a story, yeah.
Well, I have some things to point out about the things you mentioned. Like, I still think it's really weird that Bill Murray is in this, because he's not in a whole lot of the movie. He's only in about like maybe like I would struggle to say it's even 10 minutes. He appears at the golf game. And he's like, he's got a little bit of a story arc of wanting to play for a professional basketball team
Just from the commercials.
Okay. And, it's pretty funny that they had him in for the golf scenes. I'm sure that was intentional because of Caddyshack. And then, like, he shows up at the very end of the game when they need a fifth player.
Yeah.
And one of the things, the head boss alien guy, who I can't think of his name, might as well be Mr. Big or something stupid like that. He goes, "Hey, I didn't know Dan Aykroyd was in this film," and that still gets a laugh out of me. That was really funny.
See, I didn't get that as a kid. I didn't get it. I was like, what? But that's all right.
Yeah. The Daffy kissing his ass. I've heard. I think it was from one of Trevor's videos that really pissed off the Warner executives or something. That almost didn't make it into the film or something like that. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure there was some controversy about that. But my favorite gag also involves Daffy, and it's something that I didn't remember until I just watched it last night. There's a scene early on in the basketball game where all the Monstars are like running down the court towards Daffy, who's got the ball. So Daffy throws it to the bench, and Granny catches it. And then, of course, she gets pummeled. Now, this is a joke that's on two ends or two levels, sorry. Because when they all come off of her, she seems pretty happy that she was just crushed by 4 different giants. And then secondly, Lola is like glaring at Daffy for doing that. And he just goes, she was wide open. And that got a really big laugh out of me.
Oh, jeez.
So I don't know. That was like my highlight of rewatching the film again after it's probably been at least 2 years for me. It's definitely not a movie I can bring myself to hate. It's definitely not a perfect film, but I would say that the first Space Jam is a 7 or 8 out of 10 for me.
I would say it's a 7, and a lot of people listening might be now going, "Oh, it's just the nostalgia talking." It's like, yeah, well, honestly, we all have something that we love that is nostalgic. I mean, I tried to watch a lot of the early Transformers and G.I. Joes from the 80s, and boy, it is absolutely terrible, a lot of that stuff. But a lot of people love it. A lot of people hold it in high esteem. Same goes with Power Rangers, the original Power Rangers. That was huge, and I was a huge fan. And then looking back on it recently, I'm thinking, man, this is just stupid, but people love it. You know, nostalgia really pays it, and you know what? Like what you like. And for me, seeing Looney Tunes on the big screen was amazing. And just as a quick aside, I finally had the chance to watch a Looney Tunes cartoon, a proper one, a short on the big screen, in front of RoboCop of all things. They showed Ali Baba Bunny, and seeing Looney Tunes on the big screen. If you ever get a chance to watch the original one, or even Space Jam for that matter, see it. It's worth seeing on the big screen.
Right. I just thought of this, but we may as well include it because when are we ever going to do it? Just a quick thought on Back in Action, kind of the middle child now, I guess.
Yeah. Well, definitely more care was taken in that one, I thought, because the director, Joe Dante, he's of course a huge Looney Tunes fan. He even did a few commentaries on the Golden Collection sets and whatnot. But he must have been treated so badly that he refuses to this day to even talk about his experiences on that film. And I'll be honest, that film is also a mess. There's a lot that he gets right.
Okay.
But there's also a few things that just seem so uneven. It felt like there were too many cooks in the kitchen in this one. Like, Joe Dante had his own vision. He wanted to do something, but then for whatever reason, he kept on getting moved in on by the executives to say, no, you got to do this or that, and it ended up being an okay product. And I don't even remember it being advertised here, well, at least here in Australia. I barely knew about the film, so I only saw it maybe a few years ago, to be honest, for the first time. And
when's the last time you watched it? Because I can't even think of when.
Probably about 2 years ago, I would say.
Yeah.
And I've honestly forgotten about most of it. And here's the thing. While Back in Action was the better film, it actually is less memorable for me. It's weird, isn't it? And I think there was nothing that stood out, whereas Space Jam, as bad as it can be, it stood out.
Yeah. Now I have to mention, I didn't even think about bringing up Back in Action until I realized, when would we ever sit down and talk about that film by itself? So I was like, we might as well just bring it in here. So Back in Action, I have not seen for a long time. I don't remember it being advertised in theaters. What I remember about Back in Action when it was released was basically I had the Game Boy Advance game and I couldn't figure it out as a kid. Like, it was too complex or something. I could be a stupid kid. I should retouch that. But The film, I just remember seeing it around the time I got my first Golden collection, which must have been like, because the film came out in 2003, I believe.
Yeah.
So I must have saw it around like whenever it went to cable TV or whatever in like 2004, 2005, because I, I was alive then. I was only like 5 years old. So I have to say, like, there are a lot of cool ideas that go into Back in Action that I do really like. I do like the setup about how Daffy quits Looney Tunes and like Warner Brothers, and I love the whole like Golden Monkey, I think it was, like the whole setup for the plot. And there are setups I really like how the whole Vegas scene and like the Walmart in the desert, like that is total corporate pandering, but it's really funny to me for some reason, just to how absurd that is.
Yeah.
So even though it is like product placement, I think it works. I know a lot of people, that one scene alone is very controversial, but I think it's funny. And then the final scene with Duck Dodgers, like that was great. When I talk about that film with other people, what I notice is that nobody really cares for the human characters. That's usually the big complaint.
Yeah, I mean, they usually single out Steve Martin, though, as a highlight, but I don't know.
Yeah.
The one big highlight for the film, the part that I always remember is, of course, the art gallery chase scene, which is magnificent, and that's probably the big highlight in the film. Very creative. It takes what's been done before, but does it in a completely different way, and I really enjoy that.
As a kid, my favorite scene was the Area 51 scene where like they're in Area 51 and they got all these like cool like all these cool gadgets and stuff like laying around, and I always thought that was really fun. But yeah, well, Back in Action is probably the best of the three films, spoiler alert. It's definitely not as iconic as Space Jam, and it also killed any chances of any other theatrical Looney Tunes movies for a very long time.
Yeah, which is a shame, but what
well,
can you do?
Is it a shame? Because apparently they were going to do like Skate Jam with Tony Hawk.
Well,
how do you even? Like, what would even have been the plot of that?
I don't know. Aliens trying to build a skate park and they want a new attraction. I don't know. So it sounds so stupid. Or Spy Jam with Jackie Chan. I think that was one they were thinking of as well. But
yeah, but
unlike
think,
Michael Jordan,
Spy
Jackie
Jam
Chan can
evolved
actually
into Back in Action.
Yeah, I think there was some kind of weird.
Yeah. But then again, there might have even been like a Karate Jam. It's been a while since I like looked into that. I know there was a Race Jam. I don't remember who was supposed to be the star of that.
Who knows? But what I do know is that between Back in Action and Space Jam 2, there have been a few direct-to-video movies with the Looney Tunes, but they're not hybrid ones that we're going to, I guess, discuss today. So I know with Space Jam 2, they've been talking about it for so long that it's probably the equivalent of, like in the gaming industry, what it's called vaporware. It was just, they mentioned it.
I have an animation equivalent.
Duke Nukem 4?
It's been rumored as much as Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2, because they were originally planning to do a Space Jam 2 all the way back in like 1997.
Oh, as you would. It was a huge hit. So no surprises.
Yeah, but I think what shut it down back then was Jordan had no interest in doing another one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, considering he wasn't a particularly good actor in it anyway.
No, maybe he's definitely not.
But we'll definitely touch on that in a moment. That's for sure. Regarding his acting ability.
Yeah, we will be comparing the two in a second here, but I think the first time I heard a like legitimate like talk about a Space Jam 2 happening after all these years was about like 4 or 5 years ago, like 2016-ish, and I remember hearing like, who was it going to be? Was it going to be LeBron or was it going to be Kobe Bryant? Well,
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
like they both were in talks about doing it. And do you like, unfortunately Kobe Bryant is no longer with us.
Of course. Yeah.
Do you think that Kobe would have been a better choice than LeBron? Do you think he's more of a...
He seems more seemed more personable. He just seemed like someone that comes across as a bit warmer. At least from his few appearances I have seen him in, but honestly, it's hard to say. I mean, obviously, you know, it was tragic what actually
things that happened,
but but what can you do?
Well, as you can see, I've been delaying the inevitable as much as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's finally time to start talking about Space Jam 2: A New Legacy. Well, its technical title is Space Jam:
and
New Legacy.
It'll be more than Blue saying... It'll be more than Blue saying, "It sucks. Good night, everyone." Whoop.
First of all, I'll let you go first. What were you... Because you saw it first. You got to see it
so
early.
Just to clarify, because people seem to think, I had some sort of an in with Warner Brothers, and I was able to see it much earlier.
Let me break all those rumors of you having like some inside source with Warner Brothers. All right, his channel is currently down because of Warner Brothers having like somebody else take their his videos down. So you tell me if he's got something inside with Warner Brothers.
Well, there's that, but just to also clarify that I think it's some weird external department that was hired by Warner's, and they did some sort of stupid algorithm thing, and my videos got caught up in it. But that's another topic, of course. But no, I don't have anything with Warner's. What happened was, unlike you guys in the Northern Hemisphere, we have 2 week school holiday in the middle of the year, and that's our winter school holidays because it's winter in the middle of the year as opposed to summer. Hemispheres are fun, right? We don't have our big holidays until December and January, so it's obviously a lot different.
Right.
But the problem with the release date of Space Jam 2 was that it would have premiered after our school holidays, and you can imagine that would have eaten up some of the potential earnings for the film.
Right.
If it was released after the thing. So they managed to get an advanced screening happening at the major chains here, and they showed it in the middle of the second week. So at least there was like 5 days where you had an opportunity to watch it in the cinema with your kids. Smart move, I have to say. That's definitely the right thing. And they were called advanced screenings, but they were pretty much just your normal ticketed thing. You just buy your tickets like normal and go and see it. And I saw it with the kids. It's like in a junior cinema where you can pretty much lay back on a beanbag and just chill out. There's even a slide, so before and after, and they even put a forced intermission in the middle. You can go on the slide for a little bit, and it's really cool, actually. And I wish I could fit in that slide, but I think I'm too big for that. Would have been more fun to the movie.
Okay.
But anyway, that's another thing entirely. So I watched the film. Okay. Now, already might sound like I'm going to rag on it and think that I hated it. Hate is a strong word. I do not hate Space Jam 2. Blue may beg to differ. You might have a different opinion. But for me, the biggest issue I had was when the film ended. Unlike with the first Space Jam, where it was all pumped up because of the soundtrack and what had happened and just the coolness of seeing Looney Tunes on the big screen and that, I just felt empty. There was just... It was just a situation where when it ended, I was like, oh, okay, that was something, and that was it. And mind you, I've felt that way about a lot of Marvel films. I do enjoy the Marvel Universe films, but there are a fair few of them where once it ends, I'm like, that was worth the watch, but I've no real desire to see it again. It's the same sort of feeling. Like I didn't get an emotional any emotions out of it. So let's start off with what I think is positive. Did you want me to discuss my positives, or did you want to give your overview first? How did you want to do this?
Yeah, you can go into your positives. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, well, first of all, the animation, and yes, I'm counting both the 2D, even the 3D, I actually thought was very well done. I mean, the 2D much more, I think, but even when there were the 3D versions, which I will give them credit, there was a very good reason why they went 3D. I thought that was a very clever idea, the way they did it. But ultimately, the animation was great. And it's a shame that there's this new controversy where a lot of the artists didn't get credited at the end, which I think is just disgusting, quite frankly. I mean, how hard is it to credit your artists in these things? It's not like it's an intern of an assistant of an assistant of an assistant or anything, you know. This is the people who design stuff for you, but that's another rant.
Well, if I can bring into that, you know, credit sequences are so long nowadays where, you know, 20, 30 years ago, movies credits would be like maybe 2-3 minutes long. Nowadays, they go on for like 7 or 8 minutes. And you're telling me that you can't credit everybody? Yeah. Like, come on.
Exactly right. I know mistakes do happen from time to time, unfortunately. And it sounds to me that when they do release this on disc, they'll probably rectify it. Sounds like it blew up pretty big, actually, on Twitter, and I think...
well, yeah, like...
they will fix it, I'm sure.
I do feel pretty passionately about this, but, like, you can't tell me that nobody proof checked this. Like, there's way too much of this. Like, if it was one person, then okay, I understand. Like, it can happen. But it's not just one person. There's quite a few people on the social medias right now that are up in arms about this, and it just sucks.
Oh, yeah. And just so you know, the artist in question is Dave Alvarez, and yeah, he does amazing work. It has done amazing work for the past, I think, 25-odd years on Looney Tunes, and he's a great artist. Definitely follow his work. But anyway, that aside, but in terms of crediting, I will give him credit. Sorry, pardon the pun. For one thing that they did do was credit some voice actors in the very beginning, because as we all know, in a lot of these sort of films, be it hybrid or fully animated, the voice actors are usually just shoved at the end. You know, like it's an afterthought. Only the celebrities get credited in the beginning. But here we've got Eric Bauza, full credits in the beginning.
Yeah,
and that definitely a big positive, and I want to see more of that, because voice actors, they're the true unsung heroes of a lot of these cartoons. It really is. Now there is there is a part where they go to all these different, I guess, DC or HBO worlds and all that, and most of it didn't work for me, and I'll get into that later. But the one that I loved the most was the Wonder Woman part. Now, I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan, where I read the comics, or, you know, I've read every Wonder Woman comic ever, and in fact, most of my signed comic collection are of Wonder Woman comics. Man, that scene with Wonder Woman and Lola Bunny, that was incredible. The animation was great, and the acting in it. Yes, even the voice work by Zendaya. Zendaya, is that how we say it? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
You know, I actually quite like her. I think she's quite talented. Great singer as well. But anyway, but that scene, what I realized just today, I would love to see a feature-length movie on this concept. That would have been I would have probably enjoyed that a lot more, because it was done so well. But that's just my opinion, of course. And yeah, I got a kick out of some of the cameos you see in the background, and all that. And of course, the big one, Don Cheadle. He's one of those actors where he could be in something that's absolutely terrible, but you will still say at the end, you know what? X is terrible, but Don Cheadle, of course, is a highlight. So there is that as well.
Okay. Yikes. I gotta be the super negative one, I guess.
Well, all right, well, first of all, what are your positives? Let's start with that.
All right. You know, see, you think I'd be spending a lot of time thinking about this. Okay. Oh, I got it. Okay, so I think the setup for the basketball game is a lot more interesting this time around because it's not just a straight up basketball game. It's based off of LeBron's son's basketball video game, meaning that there are NBA Jam like power ups and places to stand, which give you a boost in either your jumping or your speed prowess. And LeBron struggling with this was a very interesting concept because apparently he's not a real gamer or whatever.
Even though he is a gamer.
I want to mention that. Okay, so one of the major plot points of this film is that LeBron gave all his interests up besides basketball to become a professional player and work at it. And I don't follow LeBron James. I am not a big basketball fan. But one of the things I did know was that there are quite a few viral videos or pictures of LeBron carrying game consoles. Like there's one famous one with the PS2 that he took everywhere with him. So like even my bare knowledge about who LeBron James was knew that this entire plot was forced.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and because I'm like I'm the gamer here. I also really quickly want to bring up two other things about that. I know I'm supposed to be talking positively, but well, first of all, at the beginning of the movie, to set up the fact that LeBron was scolded as a kid about this, a friend gives him a Game Boy, and this is in the year 1998, apparently, even though I thought LeBron was already a basketball player by then, but I guess I was wrong. This kid just hands him a Game Boy. It's like, oh, it's old and it doesn't work anymore. I'm like, okay, or it barely works anymore. You got to hit it to make it work sometimes, or something like that. And I was just thinking, in 1998, the year that the Pokemon craze blew up.
Oh yeah.
You're telling me that some kid just hands you a Game Boy? Okay, sure. And then the game that he's playing is, of course, Bugs Bunny's Crazy Castle 2. And I cannot look at that scene and not think that has to be because of James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. There are a lot of Looney Tunes related video games, especially on the Game Boy. But they picked that one specifically because it was the one that most recently went viral, quote unquote.
Yep, definitely know that one.
The other thing is a lot of the plot involves the fact that Dom, LeBron's son, wants to go to E3 camp. And that's not a thing at all.
No, and I lived it. Okay, I lived it. I lived during the initial Pokemon craze, and yeah, Game Boys were being sold everywhere, like being sold out rather, and Pokemon just was insane. So yes, I can verify, and this was just in Australia. In grade 6, it was for me. Grade 6 is when the Pokemon craze really took off, and then they had to implement a ban on Game Boys at school because it just went that crazy. But anyway.
Well, that's not even all of it, all right? Like, only like dorks like me are going to notice that, or people that were around that year. But the other thing is, like, after he gets chewed out slightly by this coach about how he's got potential, but he's got to, like, focus on the game or whatever, he just throws this Game Boy out. He doesn't give it back. He doesn't, like... He's just a jerk. I'm sorry. That's not a cool thing to do.
Yeah, but
all right.
I guess to be fair, I guess it's one of those things where
go ahead.
Right, but I guess it is if the movie, if you enjoyed it, I suppose that would have been just one of those minor quibbles that you find in movies that you might otherwise enjoy. But I'm sure you've got more to say. But a positive, please. We need positives from you. We need those vibes from you.
Yes, I want to point out that yes, those things are very minor. Those are not the reason I don't like this film, but Okay, other positives. See, that is a little. It's pretty hard for me because my biggest thing about this film is that it seems to be this kind of film where I remember very little about it until I started thinking about its negatives. And okay, how about well, I thought the Daffy trying to be Superman, that was cute.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, there you go. There's a positive.
There you go. There you go. You figured it out. So what? So
Okay,
not even
no.
Dr. Evil.
Oh God! All right. I really hated that scene. Okay, well, I do want to get one other nitpick out of the way because it bothered me as soon as I saw it, and I would be mad at any corporation that tried this, but there's a scene early on in the film where the Warner Brothers higher ups are trying to like pitch this idea that LG Rhythm had for them, and believe me, I hate that name so much. Like, I get it, the Monstars, and there was bad puns in the first Space Jam, but really, LG Rhythm.
Yeah, I
That
just went with it.
Yeah, well, fair enough. But there's a scene where they're like, "We're Warner Brothers. We made all the classic movies," and in this like pile of films that is a blinking you miss it moment, I know specifically they mentioned Wizard of Oz and King Kong. And all right, so Wizard of Oz was MGM and King Kong was RKO. Sure, they own the rights nowadays, but they didn't make them. That's like Disney trying to claim that they made Star Wars, episode 4. No, they didn't. And, Anthony immediately was trying to be positive about the situation. He said, like, no, I think they were just saying, these are Warner Brothers, like, staple of films. But no, they specifically say, we made these. And, no, they didn't.
Yeah, I must have missed that bit. I honestly thought it was just like stuff that they have IPs on, that the IPs that they own now, as opposed to literal creation. Because they certainly did not create King Kong. In fact, Warner Brothers didn't even create Hanna-Barbera. It was Hanna-Barbera. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
Warner
Brothers. Warner Brothers themselves hadn't made a Kong film until Skull Island came out. And even then, that's a legendary picture. So technically, that's still not.
They were just distributors, the Warners, yes. I think. Yeah.
But, here they are claiming that they, made these films, and they definitely didn't make, like, Wizard of Oz. It's not just my Kong obsession. I did notice some other stuff. And I'm sure that if you looked at that, you would know that they mentioned like quite a few other films that they've bought the rights to since then, but they weren't showing off like their classic Warner Brothers staples of like gangster movies from the 30s. Nobody talks about it anymore.
Yeah, all those ones.
Definitely. That's what they were known for in the 30s. So like they're like trying to make themselves look better by claiming these films that they've bought the rights to are theirs when they're not truly. And let's also say that that was a little peeve of mine. Still, I have not brought up my true things that make me mad about this film yet at all.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And look, let's get into it, because what you've just described, I guess, as I mentioned before, could be considered to be a minor quibble, where if everything else was okay, it might have been something where you would have gone, yeah, all right, I'll let it slide because everything else was so good. But, all right, look, here's the thing about the film for me. Now, I knew going into this it was going to be a giant HBO commercial. I mean, anyone who didn't realize this clearly hadn't seen the trailer or whatever, and I don't blame him. But there was just a lot of things in there that just felt off. And I think the biggest problem is Looney Tunes felt like there were side characters in their own film. That was how it felt like to me.
Well, I want to quickly bring up the fact that when I hear the main criticism of the first Space Jam, it's how the Looney Tunes aren't in character. And how, once again, like you said before, Bugs Bunny could have easily taken down the Monstars on his own, let alone with the other Looney Tunes and Michael Jordan. Like there was no need for that, right? The thing about it in this film is that I feel like any problem the original Space Jam had, this one makes a lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
In this film, Bugs Bunny isn't Bugs Bunny to me.
No, he was just mopey. He was so mopey. No.
Like, okay, so Algae Rhythm, again, I hate that name. He sends LeBron down to the depths of the serververse, which is apparently Looney Tunes world. Apparently,
the rejects.
Apparently, the Looney Tunes are the rejects. I'm guessing they just don't care about the things they made themselves, clearly, because they want to be proud of the things that they've bought since then. So, but apparently Bugs is the only cartoon character that stayed in Toon World. And he misses his family of the other Looney Tunes characters. And he's all sad and depressed about it. And it's like, no.
It's so out of character.
First of all, this might have worked. This entire plot point might have worked if it was Porky that stayed behind and was lonely because all his other friends were gone. I could see that out of Porky. But they didn't do that because Bugs is the marketable one all the kids want to see.
Which is fair enough.
Yes. But it doesn't just stop there. He doesn't immediately cure himself as soon as he sees the other Looney Tunes characters. No, one of the major things that I really was excited for actually at first was right before the game starts, LeBron basically tells Bugs to knock it off. Now, I've seen a lot of Bugs Bunny cartoons in my lifetime. And if somebody tells Bugs, off like that, it means there's going to be a conflict.
Yeah. This means war.
Absolutely. What happens in this film?
He just
goes with it.
Yeah. And that
he mopes. He mopes throughout the whole thing until he's finally allowed to do what he wants. And I'm sorry, this is not how this should work. Like, this was a perfect opportunity to have the two, quote, I guess the best term is alphas, Bugs and LeBron, go at it a little bit on the same team and have to learn to work together properly.
Mm.
But did they do that?
No, they don't. And I don't know.
No, they didn't.
It was just so damn mopey. Like, I was thinking, Bugs is like usually happy, or like he was just. I don't know. It's just hard to describe. In fact, all the Looney Tunes characters felt kind of off to a point. I thought
most of them don't have a whole lot of screen time. Like, I don't remember anything Tweety does, for example.
I was barely in it. I know Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner had some interesting moments, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I would say that the characters closest to like how they should be were the Roadrunner and the Coyote.
Yeah,
I don't think any of it like. Daffy is like, they barely get any screen time.
He was alright in it. I thought, that they went with the whole thing about they went back to the greedy Daffy versus the crazy Daffy that we see in the Looney Tunes cartoons, but that's okay. There's been different versions of him. So, and I thought it was alright, but every other character was just felt like side characters. And this whole thing about Zidania, again, I probably said it wrong again, being cast as Lola Bunny, and allegedly, like, it hasn't been proven.
At the last minute.
it was a last minute thing. Where the original voice actress, I think Katie Suze, I can't say her name correctly either. What is it with Lola Bunny actors and I can't pronounce their name? But anyway, she apparently did record for it, but then they replaced it. Very similar situation to what happened in the Jetsons movie where they replaced one actor with Tiffany. But anyway, that's a different thing entirely there, but it's a very similar situation.
I just want to say, too, I think Lola was the biggest disappointment of all the characters because, we've, like, the original Space Jam, Lola wasn't really a character. She was meant to be eye candy, as disturbing as that may be to some people. I mean, all the power to you for furries, whatever. Anyways, she was just meant to be like, something for Bugs to like win pretty much. And, they try to play it off as her being empowered and being like a strong basketball player and everything. But at the end of the day, it's still 90s kids movie where even though she says she's all powerful and all this, she still needs to be saved by the male hero and everything. And it works out at the end, right?
Oh, yeah.
But here's the thing. Since
Mm-hmm.
then, we have had really good interpretations of Lola, especially, again, in the Looney Tunes show. Now, I think that, this would have been the perfect time to maybe... You could have brought back, like, the original Lola, sure. Made her more powerful as a character, all that. Or they could have gone the Looney Tunes show way and made her zany like the other ones. Like the other Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Both options were okay. But in this film, I just, like, well, first of all, she has, like, no scenes with Bugs in it. Like, they may talk, like, for a little bit in the film, but they have, like, no charisma together. Like, there's more tension between her and LeBron, who, again, is a married man, by the way.
Wow.
Than there are, like, between her and the character she was made to be the girlfriend of.
Yeah. Aside from the Wonder Woman scene, where she was good in that scene, I thought she stood out there. Aside from that, she was just there and forgettable. See, there's another positive I forgot to bring up, and it's literally the only time where I laughed out loud in the cinema, and maybe I was the only one that did. Kind of spoiler alert, because it is a funny joke. I don't know if I want to say it.
Well, you know what? Go ahead. I'll put a spoiler annotation at the beginning of the video.
I want to make it clear. Okay, so there was a scene where, and people are probably wondering, does Michael Jordan make a cameo in it? Well, he doesn't.
Oh, yes. Yes.
See, this was clever. Where Daffy brings in a Michael Jordan, but he brings in Michael B. Jordan, the actor, an actor whom I actually really enjoy as well, by the way. And I thought he was really good in that cameo. He played it pretty well. See, that was funny.
Yeah.
That was like meta humor funny, but it worked. It worked so well. So
and
I
the
have
whole
to give him
line,
thumbs up
like,
for that. That was
how
a
did
very
you think
they
look nothing alike? And he goes, well, it's been 26 years. I just thought he aged gracefully. Like, that was really funny. I did forget about that until you mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah. The scene worked.
That scene was funny. And there's one other scene. I will bring up another positive, believe it or not. There is a scene where, I guess the whole plot of, like, Dom fighting against his, dad in the basketball game, when all the human characters get sucked into their phones or whatever, and like the mom is trying to call for the son, and then the other son, the older one who barely gets a scene in this movie, he goes, "I don't think they can hear you," and she goes, "I'm his mother. He better hear me." I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, definitely. But on the flip side, the other cameo that really confused me the most was Rick and Morty. Now, I'm actually a big fan of Rick and Morty. I think those cartoons are absolutely hilarious. I did have to somewhat get used to the human designs. I thought the human designs were a bit weird, but I love the alien designs and backgrounds and so on. But that's another topic for another time.
Right.
But so they have a cameo in it, and yeah, of course, the original, the voice actor who does both Rick and Morty, I forgot his name, but he cameos in it, okay? And here's the thing. So this is supposed to be for a kids' film, and Rick and Morty is very much an adult animated show. You do not show this for kids at all. You definitely do not do that. So are you now going to have lots of kids going, oh, they look interesting. I want to see this cartoon, and then parents are going to maybe look into it who might not be aware of Rick and Morty, and then they're going to see the horrified kids watching, monsters being blown up, and in a recent episode there was even like a penis episode or some such, and
yeah,
it just didn't make any sense, and also they referenced The Matrix, which I thought, okay, there's going to be a fourth movie coming out. That kind of made sense, because at least, you want to maybe get The Matrix back into people's minds, right?
Are we leading into what I think we're leading into?
Oh, yeah, we will. And don't worry, you can scream in a moment. But, okay, you have the granny Matrix scene, but you also had Speedy Gonzalez, which...
I want to say really quickly, Granny is the worst character in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, then that's nothing bad against the voice actor, though. The voice actor, she does a good job with what she had.
No, it's the script that she had. Granny is the most painful character in this show, bar none.
Haters gonna hate.
Can't a lady check her Twitter? Oh my god, I just...
Can't a lady check her Twitter out? Sorry, I'm trying to do my best Granny impersonation. I mean, it's clear why they didn't hire me. You sound
more like Peter Griffin trying to do an older old lady.
Eugene Batch, man. No, anyway. But anyway, I do have to say, Speedy Gonzalez in that bit was interesting, and it made sense. And I like how they got Iglesias himself, the famous comedian. It's like, I'm glad that they're embracing Speedy, because I remember that when they banned Speedy because they thought he was offensive to Mexicans, and then Mexicans are saying, hang on a moment, no, we love Speedy because he's a hero.
Well, I've heard that's been coming back around lately, actually, that they're trying to distance the Looney Tunes from Speedy a little bit. And
well, they hired... but they hired a Mexican actor now. I mean, that was probably the only thing that they probably needed to fix. Like, maybe just get someone who's actually, Mexican to, or, or Latino or whatever to do it.
Can I rant about the little cameo scene now? Can I?
Which one? The Dr. Evil?
All of them.
All right. Because I was going to lead into the worst one, which was the Austin Powers. I mean, I want to state one thing about Austin Powers. I actually love the Austin Powers films. I mean, not all of it's aged the best, but it's still got some great stuff in it. And I saw all three in the cinema. It was a huge deal for me. But why did they reference a film thing? Because I was mentioning before about how they reference The Matrix, which, again, there's going to be a fourth movie, right? But Austin Powers is nothing. It's been a dead IP since 2002, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, again, I am a big fan of Mike Myers. Everything he did up until the Love Guru, I pretty much love. Here's the thing, though. Like he said, it's been just about 20 years since the last Austin Powers movie has come out. There's been all these rumors of a brand new Austin Powers movie for about 10 years now. They keep going on and off about it. And at this point, I think it's vaporware. It's never going to happen. And the cameo isn't even that funny. Like, the gag is that it's from the second Austin Powers movie. And it's just, instead of Mini-Me being behind the door, it's Elmer. Like, yeah. What's the joke?
There's no joke. It was dumb, and you're gonna have a lot of kids in the cinema going, like, what is that referencing to? Like, there's nothing. like, couldn't they, if there were to do these different worlds, I'm sure there's other more modern things. I mean, as much as I actually hated Mad Max Fury Road, I thought it was one of the most overrated pieces of garbage of the last, of the 2010s, right? It was critical
Doesn't
Darwin,
that sound weird? Doesn't
But
that sound weird coming from the Australian?
It does, but no, it was garbage, full garbage. But anyway, that at least made sense. Yeah, you would have the Cody and Roadrunner in that part. Okay, that made sense,
Yeah.
and because it's a recent-ish film, and they're making a new one soon. They're actually going to start filming, I think, outside Sydney or something next year.
I was rolling my eyes pretty hard at these scenes, to be honest, because.
But at least they made sense.
I don't know. I didn't feel like there was any passion towards it. You know, they weren't referencing Fury Road because they liked the film and they really wanted, you know, to like have a little bit of a joke in there. Because most of these scenes were very dry and most of them weren't funny. The one exception to this to me, and honestly, it's okay that you like the Wonder Woman scene, but I was in the impression that it was... Okay, you know what? Actually, I'll say that one was pretty okay, but I think the highlight was DC because it made sense and there was jokes about it, right? Like, Daffy is trying to be Superman and he's trying to stop a train, but him and Daffy are fumbling it up. Or him and Porky, are fumbling it up. And, you know, there's the joke about LeBron being Robin and all that. Like, there were jokes there.
Yeah, it made sense.
Like,
yeah.
What was it? They went to, what was it? No,
they went to Game of Thrones, which, again, also kind of makes sense maybe for the grown-ups. In a way,
I don't even remember. I don't even remember the Game of Thrones scene.
Well, there was Game of Thrones reference as well, which that made sense. Although maybe not so much for kids, because again, it's the same problem with Rick and Morty. It's like, oh, what's Game of Thrones? Then you have Harry Potter. I think they referenced that as well.
Yes, they did.
Which I also don't like.
I have a rant about that. Okay, so. The entire premise of this film starts from the fact that LeBron shuts down Algae Rhythm about how stupid it is for a basketball player to be an actor in a bunch of like Hollywood movies. Now, this has been a thing with Warner Animation for a while now, where I feel like the scripts are like 20 years old. Because there's nothing weird about a basketball player in 2021 being in a lot of like big budget Hollywood movies. So the meta-ness of the joke that LeBron calls it out for being stupid doesn't work when, first of all, this is the sequel to the first time they did it 20 something years ago. And on top of all of that, you know, he's shown like LeBron in the Chamber of Secrets. And he's like rolling his eyes. This is like the stupidest thing ever. But when they get to the Harry Potter cameo, he's all like, yes, I made Hufflepuff. Or, like, you know, he's like, a Hufflepuff, I knew it. Or whatever. He's like super excited. And it's like, well, a second ago, you didn't want anything to do with Harry Potter. So like...
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But can we maybe talk about LeBron for a moment? Like, see... Weirdly enough, like he in promoting the film, he's talking about how excited he was to do this, Space Jam or whatever, and sure enough, you would promote it. But why is it that in this film he just looks so disinterested? He's like, and I'm not talking about just the scene you mentioned, beforehand, but even in the beginning, like as soon as he walked on that basketball court with his two sons, whatever, he just. I don't know. He clearly is not an actor, and I would imagine they would have had some acting coaches there. I mean, they can clearly afford it, but you can't teach someone to act, as far as I'm concerned. You can teach someone where to stand and say their lines, but you can't teach someone to act, But he just looks so bored and disinterested. I mean, say what you want about Michael Jordan in the original Space Jam. I mean, he's not going to win an Oscar anytime soon, but he was.
He was interested.
Yeah, he at least. Yeah,
like it was really like again, I didn't go into this film thinking that I was going to hate it. I was told by a few people that I was, but I went in there with as open a mind as I could. And I was like, well, the one thing that they have to do better on is, the lead, LeBron. Like, they've got to get him like a bunch of coaches, to make him seem more engaged with the plot this time around, because that is a literal shortcoming with the first movie, was that Jordan isn't an amazing actor. I don't think he's as bad as people might make it out to be. I've seen a lot worse. But
yep.
No, like I'm so confused why people are saying LeBron did a better job than Jordan did, because I've seen both of them back to back basically, and Jordan actually gets angry in the film. Like, he does get upset at like the bad guys who are taunting him, bullying him basically, or whatever. He does get upset, he does seem passionate. He does have a couple speeches about needing to improve the game, their playing skills, or that they can do it, I got none of that with LeBron. And
exactly.
Like, there are parts where LeBron is better than other scenes, I would say.
Yeah.
But there's this one scene I remember pretty well, is that he sees that his family got sucked in there too. And it's the most half-assed, oh, my family are in trouble too look I've ever seen out of any actor ever.
Yeah, it's not particularly good. But see, the interesting thing I noticed though, and I'm not saying he's going to be an amazing voice actor that will rival the likes of Mel Blanc or anything, but I did notice when he was just doing pure voiceover, he was actually better. Not the greatest, but it was acceptable, and there was some emotion there. So my theory is that, see, when you're acting in front of a camera, you have to not only remember your lines, but you have to remember your placements, where you stand, where you need to walk to, how you're going to act, how your facial expressions, your arms. You got to remember all this stuff, and eye line, ignoring the camera. You got a million things to think about. Whereas voice acting is, I'm not saying it's easy. no, because I'm going to probably get crucified. But at least with voice acting, you're concentrating on the acting with your voice. You don't have to worry about walking to one place to another, or where the camera is and that. You just focus on your voice and your inflections and all that sort of stuff, which again is not easy. I admire people who do, especially, shout out to Keith Scott. I mean, how he does it, I don't know. It's just incredible. But yeah, I found that maybe because he only had to focus on talking for the voiceover stuff, that's why that turned out better than the live acting stuff. And again, it's not amazing voice acting. He falls flat a few times. Right. But when he hugs Bugs, when he's happy to see Bugs Bunny, that I was actually convinced that was probably his best
and
delivery.
That's like the first scene that we see them together, and it looks promising.
Yeah,
and then it just goes completely downhill. And like, I also have to mention, like, do you remember anything about the actual basketball game itself?
Barely anything. I know that they got some actual NBA and WNBA stars to be in this one in a different way, but they do what they can with the material. I can't really fault them. They're there to play basketball. But
here's the thing, right? Now, in the first Space Jam, the Monstars steal the energy or the basketball talent from the actual NBA players like Charles Barkley and like a few others. And they become kind of like cartoon characters of them a little bit. That's how I always interpreted it. Like, one of them was like a Barkley alien.
I think it's funny. It just reminded me of one of my best bits of the original Space Jam was when, as soon as they lose their abilities, I like when one just throws the ball at one of the players and it just hits him in the face. Just
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think all the ref.
The scenes with the NBA players not being able to figure out like what's wrong with them. That is so funny. Like seeing,
Especially on the court.
I think it's like Charles Barkley like being like, "Hey, can I play with you kids or whatever?" And then just being completely schooled by these like school children, and then being like, he's not Charles Barkley. He's just some like he just looks like him. Get out of here." That was really funny to me, and I don't even know these guys that well because I am not a basketball fan.
And here's the thing, and here's the thing, and I know it sounds like I'm knocking down LeBron in this, but all of those basketball players acted way better than LeBron did in the entire Space Jam 2. I mean, and they're not experienced actors. They're not experienced actors, and yet you could buy the comedy. You could buy the comedy that they lost.
Oh yeah,
their abilities.
And like the scene with one of them, I don't know their name. Who's talking with a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist goes, "Besides basketball, have you found yourself unable to perform in any other way?" And then he just gets a dirty look. I was just asking. That was funny. And
exactly.
Here's the thing about these this new team that they play against, right? Because this time, as far as I understand it, they are basically the video game personas of a bunch of basketball players, like you said.
Yeah, NBA and WNBA
with like power ups. Like one of them is a hawk or whatever, eagle, hawk, something, a bird. He's part bird, and then another one of the girls is like a spider, right? And here's the thing, right? I don't know any of these people. There was no scenes introducing them to us, like there was in the first Space Jam, where the aliens go to a basketball game to steal their powers.
Yeah, it was just a very brief moment. Very brief moment, I think, where it's like, hey, I'm going to record you playing so I can get some data for my app.
Oh, really? I don't even remember that, apparently. But, yeah, like, LeBron has a conversation with, like, maybe one of them.
I think his son does, where he's got that special phone that wouldn't probably exist in real life, but whatever, you go with that. But
well, that's the whole thing, though, right? Like, these guys are so unmemorable because I can't think of anything about their personalities or anything. They're just basketball player with like enhancements.
I looked up who these people are after the fact, because like you, I didn't know who they were, and these people are genuinely impressive athletes in real life, and I'm sure you don't doubt that either. But
no, I don't.
The problem is, at least where I am in Australia, I'm only talking as Australian here, there's just no name recognition for any of them, whereas I knew who Michael Jordan was. I actually knew who Charles Barkley was, and a few others, but these guys I honestly don't know. But that's just me, you know. I would imagine it might be a different situation in the US.
I think another thing is that these designs are so generic. Like,
yeah, I have to say that.
Like, I remember the Monstars because they were hideous characters of like these famous basketball players. Whether or not that was intentional or not, like they were meant to just look like them but slightly deformed or whatever, or if they were meant to be parodies in the entire way, I have no idea. But what I do know is that they stick in your head. These ones don't.
Yeah,
like, I think there's like a robot LeBron.
Yeah, there's also that one that could stop time. Now, and that does beg the question, and that ultimately destroys the whole concept of the film. It's like, well, why not just have this time player play, like, just put him straight away on the field, stop time, get 1,000,000 points, then fast forward time till the end of the match, you've won. See you later. In fact, why even have a basketball game at all? Like, even just the idea, how they get to the basketball game just doesn't even, like, at least it made more sense in the first one, as you know.
I honestly can't believe they do more LeBron worshipping in this film than they did with Jordan in the original.
Yeah,
like it was
doubt
bad.
That LeBron,
like they were
a talented player.
Yeah. Yes, don't get me wrong. All these basketball players are obviously extremely talented. It's just that in a film, I'm going to need more than that. You know? Like, it's not...
Because LeBron
Like
was in the
Jordan,
film. LeBron was in this
yeah,
film. I forgot which comedy film it was. But I remember him playing LeBron, playing himself, and he actually wasn't that bad in the film. He actually acted like he himself, sure, but he was natural. He felt good. But when he's trying to act dramatic or
hmm
or the heightened reality of this sort of a film, it just falls flat. I'm sorry, but um, any other things you want to talk about? Because my rating for Space Jam 2, only because I'm giving it slightly higher because my kids actually did enjoy it, and the irony I think is that Space Jam 2, so for them might end up being what Space Jam 1 was for me, where they might look at it as
yeah,
adults and go, "Ooh, no good," but hey, if they like it, I'm not gonna stop my kids from watching it. That's for sure,
no, yeah,
or anyone else for that
absolutely, and
matter.
that's not my intention. It's just that I do have like a couple more things I want to bring up, like the whole ending fake out.
Oh yeah,
That was awful.
yeah. And I felt nothing. See, if that scene worked as intended, then I would have felt something at the end. It would have been like, whoa. But because Bugs was so mopey and quite frankly unlikable in this one, I just didn't care.
No,
But
and the thing is, we all know that he was going to be okay in like another scene,
mm,
and they don't even try to explain how it happened. Like I already said that there's going to be a spoiler tag. Like basically, to replace Dom on the Goon Squad, Don Cheadle, is that how you say that? Shettle? I don't know how to say
Cheadle,
that. Cheadle? Okay. He morphs into like the ultimate player of this game, and he can like cheat and
Mega
everything.
Cheadle.
So their idea is to cause the game to crash because it is a video game, with this like thing that was brought up in the first act, and they're just concerned because they don't know what's going to happen to the player that performs the quote unquote cheat code. Now, there were a million ways around this. First of all, like if this character who's like supposed to be the super boss basketball player now can just cheat, why can't he just remove 10 seconds off the clock, or like enter in the famous NBA Jam cheat code that prevented the Bulls from scoring at the last second, or anything like that? Like, first of all, that's stupid that you give like the villain character like basically immunity, but like you got to pretend that they're not going to immediately just abuse that. But
Yeah,
then, like, LeBron's like, look, I'll do it. It's my family, whatever. And, that would have been completely okay because, again, none of the Looney Tunes asked for any of this. They were
yep,
just helping him out. But no, Bugs, who's been depressed this entire movie, decides to do it instead of, like, letting LeBron handle it. And, of course, they fake it out like he's actually going to die. Like, they're actually going to kill Bugs Bunny off in the movie. And, again, it was just the stupidest thing ever because like not even 5 minutes go by and Bugs shows up to LeBron, who's outside of like E3 camp, because that's a whole thing. And he's like, yeah, I'm okay, of course I wasn't gonna die. And it was like, yeah. It was just the
yeah,
dumbest thing ever. But you want to know the biggest sin this movie takes, and it's the worst thing that they did, calling this Space Jam 2.
well, so that's the biggest sin for you.
No. This, what I'm about to say. Do you want to know what the biggest sin of Space Jam 2 is?
Aside from the fact that they claim to have created King Kong.
Well, that made me mad, but no, that was just a nitpick. The worst thing about Space Jam: A New Legacy is that its soundtrack is nothing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, yep, so forgettable. Why did they not do even a remix or remake or something of the original Jam song?
Before the movie came out, I had heard some new remixes of like the classic Space Jam songs, like not all of them, but a few of them. And I think they're in the movie somewhere, but they're all like awful. And I don't know, like the new music for this movie, I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's just because it's not into my taste. Like if it was rap music and people were a fan of it, then that'd be completely okay. But I don't think anybody can legitimately say objectively that and I'm not saying that you can't appreciate this music. I'm just saying that objectively I think that the first Space Jam soundtrack is leagues better than this one.
It is. It is.
Like I don't think there's even an argument for that, and I think that's the biggest shame because that was the biggest strength of the original.
That's right. See, I knew that they were going to do some sort of a compilation opening titles thing, just like in the original, and I was ready for some, to have a new rendition of the song that was played in the first one. But then, but instead, we get generic rap hip hop song that you like, a forgettable rap hip hop song 2020 in there, and I'm thinking, well, this didn't get me pumped up at all. Not to mention that seeing like 6 different writers, which is always a bad sign in any film. But anyway, that's another thing. But
oh yeah,
but you'd think they would have at least had in the opening something more memorable. But boy, was that song forgettable! I could not, for the life of me, you could torture me for hours, and I still couldn't, to try and rap it back to you. But even then, I couldn't do it. It's buried so deep in my mind. In fact, it's probably already gone. Which is an absolute shame.
With this film was that I obviously didn't go into it wanting to hate it. I didn't.
No, neither did I. I was looking forward to it. At least I thought, at least if it goes crazy, I hope it'd be fun crazy. But this was just mostly boring crazy, and I was quite sad about that.
That's the worst kind. That's the worst kind of bad to me because it wasn't so bad. It was good. It wasn't memorable bad. It was just. I remember very little about what the movie was, and the things that I do remember make me mad. Is it the worst movie I've ever seen in my life? No, that still goes to Signs. But I have to say something about like the recent Warner Brothers animated films, whatever you want to call it. So basically Scoob, Tom and Jerry, and then now this.
Yeah, it's
getting worse. Like Scoob, the first one of these 3, because it's the oldest one of the 3. It was very questionable about the direction that they took with it, but for the most part, I left with positive thoughts. I don't remember anything about it, but it was like whatever. Tom and Jerry, like it's bad that we can compare it to the 1992 film, and I could see both ways of which one is worse. That's not good. Like I don't know how you accomplish that, but they did. And this one to me was worse than that. And I know you don't feel that way. But
yeah, but it's like comparing 2 different types of, I don't know, turd sandwiches. Like, one just maybe is less brown than the other. Which one do you prefer? Like that's how I look at these 2 films. But it's just
it's just I am so disappointed in this animation studio at this point because there was a point where they were turning out some great stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'd rather see an Illumination film. I'm not even kidding. I think I'd rather watch like
Sing 2,
the worst Illumination movie than see Space Jam 2 again. And that's really sad.
So you're saying you're saying the Lorax is better than Space Jam 2? Because I think that's probably pushing it for me. I thought the Lorax was worse.
I would say that my expectations for the Lorax were way lower. So it's more of a disappointment. But no, The Lorax is still one of the worst animated films I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, good. I was
And
going
I'm
to
sure
say,
that's gonna.
you got to lose your sanity after watching Space Jam 2. You know?
Oh, but then again, I had completely forgotten about the Lorax when I said that. So good call. I forgot about that. Okay,
yeah,
I'd rather watch any Illumination film except for that one.
yeah. Thank you, because it was bad. It was definitely bad. But
Yeah,
that's
no,
just
it
me.
was awful. But yeah, like I have to say, like, yeah, final thoughts. I it's completely okay if other people appreciate this. It's just that, in my opinion, everything people didn't like about the first Space Jam, this one does a lot worse. And I'm thinking that a big amount of positivity towards the new one has to be because of the references. And before I saw the film, I made the comparison of this to Ready Player One, which also had a bunch of cameos, not the actual characters, but a lot of characters that people would recognize appeared as avatars. And let's face it, Ready Player One is VR chat the movie.
Yeah, pretty
Like,
much.
it's a real thing now. And I would like I liked Ready Player One for what it was. Um I think this film does a disservice to that because these characters are supposed to be like the actual, say, Yogi Bear or like, King Kong and all that. Like, they are supposed to be the actual characters, but
Yeah,
it feels like it has no soul. To me, it's just Warner Brothers flexing their wallet, especially since the characters they seem to be most proud of are the ones they bought out, and now they're calling the Looney Tunes rejects.
yeah. But I mean, my final thoughts are this doesn't hold a candle. It was a disappointment. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, just like you said. I'd rather watch this again than the Lorax, basically, or Shrek. Sorry, I had to bring Shrek up somehow, didn't I?
You'd rather watch this than Shrek?
Space Jam 2, yeah. So actually,
Okay.
he's the. I would rather watch Space Jam 2 over Lorax, and I'd rather watch Space Jam and Lorax over Shrek. There you go. There's your line there. There's your greater than conveyor belt right there. But in any
Yeah.
case, and with apologies to people who did like it, I know my good friend Jonathan Graves, who runs the This Means podcast, whom I speak to quite a bit. Lovely guy, great podcast. Check him out if you haven't. He enjoyed it, he loved it, and and again, if you love Space Jam 2, fantastic, love it. Me and Blue are just people who have experienced obviously the original film in different ways, but we're also film fans in other ways as well. So I guess we might be more critical than maybe some people or whatever. But the bottom line is, you do you enjoy you, and that's it. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
I'll leave on one final message. And a recent trend I've been seeing is that people are dismissing the negative reviews of Space Jam 2 A New Legacy. Sorry, Space Jam A New Legacy. I want to keep adding the 2 there because it makes more sense to me. But I've seen a recent trend where they're like, oh, well, it's not exactly made for 20 and 30 somethings. And I'm like, I first of all, I want to say that that's very ignorant of people. Obviously, people who saw the original are going to come see this one and have thoughts about it and what they did better or worse than the original. And I just want to say that, like, if somehow one of you showed up and watched the entire thing, well, my algorithm thanks you. You may dislike the video, but thank you for the watch time. But don't be one of those people. Like, obviously, people are going to have a different thing. And if your kids like it, then great. I'm not
Yeah.
telling you that you can't like something that I don't like. Anthony's not going to go around telling people to burn their copies of Shrek.
Or have I? No, of course not.
And,
you don't know what I do. You don't know what I do in my spare time.
Yeah, it's just something I wanted to bring up because it's been a really stupid current trend.
Exactly. And besides, if this wasn't made for families where you can tell this film was made for families where the kids will like it on one level and adults on another, why else would they put Rick and Morty in it? Why would they do that? If this was a strictly kids film, they would not have Game of Thrones references, Mad Max Fury Road references, or Rick and Morty. They wouldn't do that. This is a family film, which means that in theory, kids should love it, but also grown-ups should love, or at least like it to a point where they don't want to. It's not like they're watching, I don't know, something stupid, but in this case, this was designed as family fare, which means it should not be dumbed down for kids, and should not be too stupid for adults. It should be, Pixar does it all the time. And even Illumination, for all the flack they get, their films are still solid. A lot of them are very forgettable, yes, but they're still solid. Like The Secret Life of Pets 2. Forgettable, but it was still solid. So.
Yeah. Well, that was just my point, as I wanted to make, was that, if you want to look at us as a bunch of quote-unquote neckbeards who are talking about a film they didn't like on the internet, well,
I shaved this morning, thank you very much, so...
Well, also, they're also clicking on a video that's currently, as I can see the recording, just about an hour and 33 minutes long, maybe a little bit cut down when I edit it, but it's, you're the one searching for it.
Exactly right. So I will say, hopefully this, and that's not even getting to this rumor about wanting The Rock in a third Space Jam-esque movie.
No more Space Jam. Can we just not...
Make a sequel to Back in Action. I actually read this tweet. I apologize to who wrote this tweet. I forgot who you are offhand, but they said it best. They said they retweeted that thing about Space Jam 3 with The Rock and basically said, honestly, forget Space Jam 2, so Space Jam 3. First of all, apologize to Joe Dante. Give him the budget that he wants. Stay out of his way and get him to make the Back in Action film that he wants to do. That would make things a lot better.
That's just never going to happen.
True, but that would be preferable to what we ended up getting now, but whatever. We should move on. And hey, at least we've got Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max. They're not perfect, but I tell you, they are very entertaining. And the irony, the biggest irony, is that recently they released a basketball-themed one that only goes for 6 minutes, and that was, sadly, way more entertaining than the entirety of Space Jam 2.
I believe that. Yeah, I haven't watched the full batch because so far this latest batch has been lesser to me. I've heard that this is because this was the first batch they made. But a lot of the jokes in this set weren't landing for me, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's just me. So
yeah.
So there you go.
Well, anyways, we're gonna wrap it up there. Thank you so much for watching this whole thing. I figured you guys wanted to hear our opinions on the Space Jam movie, and apparently lots of people have missed Anthony's voice. So there you go. Here's an hour and a half of listening to me and Anthony rant about Space Jam.
That's right. That's right. But hopefully, you at least enjoyed our takes. And if you do disagree with us or on any points we've made, please comment below, because that's we both like healthy discussion. I know I do. I mean, I'm sure Blue can confirm if he does.
If you want to bring up how much you like the second Space Jam over it, go ahead and comment it. But I do stand the right to debate. I would love to debate this film because unfortunately Anthony didn't like the film that much. He liked it a little bit more than me, but he's still in the boat that it could have been better. So I haven't gotten my real chance to debate somebody about this film, so I'm happy to do it.
Go for it. We enjoy seeing Angry Blue. It's fun. You know,
Yeah.
it's my favorite hobby.
I think I've been very happy and positive today.
I think so.
Anyways, we better wrap this up.
That's it.
All right.
Well, you all of you guys, thank you for listening.
Have a good one, guys.
See ya.